is there any definition at all? And of course, if there's no definition, we're talking about a reflector. But if we see any definition, we're going to look right at the sacral center to see if it's defined, because we're going to have a generator or a manifesting generator. But if it's undefined, we're going to have either, we already said reflector, we're either going to have a projector or a manifestor.
Mm-hmm.
And this is an interesting conversation because this is, again, part of where all this story goes, right? Sacral beings have a defined, reliable, consistent life force energy that they are consumed with. Their whole body, my whole being as a manifesting generator, is consumed by this life force energy. It's quite a vibration.
Mm-hmm.
Non-sacral beings can certainly sense that and feel that through the auric connection. Whereas projectors and manifestors, and reflectors too, but I'm really leaning on projector manifestors. We'll be looking at our charts today. Without that definition in their sacral center, their body is not consumed with that vibrational quality. And that's one of the reasons why they have such a unique perspective and observation. It's why projectors can see things in a way that generators aren't always able to. That's why they make such good guides and can help bring this efficiency to whatever process is going on. So I'll kind of describe this maybe through my chart, right? So we can see right away that we have the sacral definition. So as soon as we look at this chart, we know we have a generator. But we have another question we would ask, which is there any motor in the chart connected to the throat through definition? And in this chart, my chart, there is. The solar plexus is connected to the throat expression center through the channel of transitoriness, a design of a jack of all trades. That's a manifesting channel. So that's what makes me a manifesting generator. I have both motor to the throat, and I also have the sacral center. When we get into energetic priorities, the two things that we're referring to are the sacral center, which gives me the generator quality, but also the solar plexus, because whenever we see solar plexus definition, we know that that's going to be the inner authority. Mm-hmm. So another part of this topic is that there is a priority. So if I did not have solar plexus definition, but I have sacral definition, then that's the authority.
Right.
And the way this order or hierarchy goes, if I did not have the sacral definition, but I had the splenic definition, then the spleen would be the inner authority. And from there, it would go to the ego center, right? And if none of those were defined, the solar plexus, sacral, the spleen, or the ego center, but the G center was defined, then that would be the final possible inner authority option.
That's right. And so why this is important, this energetic priority is important, is because in our experiment, what we find is when we have an inner authority, a defined inner authority, and then other motors or awareness centers that are just as strong or loud in our body, sometimes we can miss the nuance of our actual authority by listening to some of these other centers or hubs or energetic frequencies that we have availability to. So for instance, in your chart with this, your sacral is the strong motor, but your solar plexus is your authority. And you have the splenic definition. So you have this deep intuitive knowing as well. So in your experiment with those three strong centers, I mean, and then we can throw in the root, but let's just keep it simple here and talk about, your emotional wave and your in the moment knowing mixed with this motor that you have, and how that could have been quite a juggling act for you.
Yeah, absolutely. This is where the experiment takes time. This is going to be through being present, through my observation, from pushing my awareness into my body and to just observe what that feels like. And that nuance that you're describing, it does take time. So in other words, the sacral center motor that I have defined is always in the moment. It's instantaneous. When out of response, I either have a rising up of energy, which makes me want to get up out of this chair and respond to something and connect with someone, or it's not there. It just sort of sits quiet, right? And I'm just observing, is that there or not? Now, but it also has the solar plexus emotional inner authority, which is working in conjunction with that sacral center. And I often think of this configuration with the sacral and the solar plexus. It's kind of like the solar plexus is like the governor on the motor. Like in
Mhm.
go-karts, have you ever been to go-kart? They have a governor on the motor so it doesn't go too fast and the kids don't
Yeah.
like crash and hurt themselves.
Yeah.
So this emotional quality is shrouded around this life force energy, right? This nervous system, emotional chemistry throughout my whole body is like a cloud around my sacral life force energy. And even though there might be an energetic, oh, I'd like to do this, I may be in the low end. So the timing may not be right for me. So that's why I have to rely on this emotional quality to
Mhm.
work with this life force energy. So there may be a sacral affirmative response, or an energetic rise in energy to bond, but I need to check in with my wave. Right. I might need to sleep on it or take another day or two to decide, is that initial response correct or not? So in other words, they don't always agree at the same time.
Right.
And in fact, if there's an energetic response from the sacral and I'm in the high end, oftentimes I can engage too quickly, or I may overpromise, overcommit because I'm in the high end. Everything looks great. I trust everybody, super optimistic. So deciphering this difference between my diaphragm area, this rise of energy or not, and compare that with what I'm feeling as well. And that's where that discernment to decipher those two sensations takes time, but it's definitely there. It's a different quality. My mood is a different quality than this.
Mhm.
So this energetic vibrational quality is what we're really sinking into with taking our time in the experimental process.
Oh, I bet you have some funny stories about that and then waiting and then having to wait and what that felt like and the deconditioning process and how that must have felt in your body to wait even though you had so much movement happening. You have anything funny just
Yeah, great observation. What made it more difficult in the beginning for me is that because the solar plexus motor is connected to the throat, this manifesting quality for my prior life, prior to human design, I was gone. Didn't matter. It just happened so instantaneously. So when I was first given the suggestion, try waiting, try sleeping on things, I was like, I never wait. Why would I wait? I can just do it. Right? I didn't know what a manifesting channel was, but as I came to learn it, I'm like, okay, well, so this was quite a revelation to experiment with this concept. And what happens is through trying it out and seeing and trying this waiting game on, I did begin to sense how much more emotional intelligence I gain over time. And that's why oftentimes emotionally defined people, this waiting thing, when we first hear it, that's kind of a lot to swallow. Like it just, in our modern culture, we're just taught to do it, right? Like the Nike shoe commercial, just make life happen. So it's a courageous act, this experiment, when we're such an emotional mood that wants to move forward. But as I came to try it, you have experiences. What will happen is I would wait a day or two and realize, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I didn't do that because in the moment I wanted to say yes right away. And as events evolved, I saw, wow, it's good. In some cases, wow, really nice that I didn't jump on that. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. And then what happens over time of, it was hard at first to not jump on that. But then as soon as your neurology saw that when you didn't jump on it, in fact, you got something even greater or better than you could have anticipated. Now your mind went to work reorganizing itself to follow that, right? And it became easier and easier over time.
Yeah, absolutely. And not only easier in that sense, more natural. It just becomes, again, my authentic way now is to know that I just really enjoy taking my time. And even though that wave, it goes up and it's fun in the high end and it can be pretty sad and upset in the low end, I really have come to love my wave because I've experienced, again, this emotional intelligence. It's a wisdom thing. It's like I just know with time. It's like my emotional chemistry is a washing machine of possible experiences, right? And it's getting cleaner and clearer the longer I wait. So in the beginning part of my experiment, it was like wait until it hurts, right? Wait so much, but I had to find that spectrum, because when we talk about emotional clarity for emotional beings, there may never really be that sensation of 1,000% clarity. It's not like that. It's a spectrum. It's either
Right.
more clear or less clear. And so through the experiment, we can get a physical felt sense of what does that emotional clarity feel like. And again, it's a spectrum, but what I feel like it comes to when it's really clear, when I'm clear, it's a very calm resoluteness. It's like a physical, after I've waited on a decision for enough time, I've seen it from my high end perspective, I've seen it from my low end perspective, and eventually there becomes this clear nervous system relaxedness, and I'm very physically resolute. And what I mean by that is when I make the decision, I'm actually no longer attached to what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Because at that point, I don't care. I've decided it's a yes or it's a no, and I just don't even have to worry about it. It's like I've got the most clarity I'm going to get, and I feel less attached to the outcome.
Yeah.
And that brings a lot of trust and confidence, right? It really feels strong inside my body. It feels authentic. It feels aligned to have that kind of clarity. But anytime I'm still unsure, if I'm still like, I think, I know, whatever this physical sensation is for any person that's trying this, it's just simply a flag saying, wait, just keep waiting.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And
A
I
lot
think
of other, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think you had a beautiful point about clarity doesn't mean that you know that the thing is going to work out exactly as you wanted to, or that it's going to be this, or it's going to be great even, or it's going to be bad, or any of those things. That's all mental stuff. What clarity is just that clearness in your body that we are moving forward despite what happens.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's also an interesting topic for talking about our relations with other people, right? I mean, people have a lot of expectations, and we have to. We have families or the children or whatever, jobs, right? Life has to be lived. And oftentimes people don't want to hear that I'm not ready to make a decision. They're like, no, you got, and what I come back to with that is that I have, for me, need to live my truth. And I know my truth is in this clarity with time. And so I help coach my friends and family up. I try to explain to them, listen, I need clarity. But that doesn't always work, right? Again, people may still be frustrated by my decision of lack of decision, right?
Yeah.
But if I'm giving off my truth and I'm clear, I'm giving off that vibrational quality to the world. And
That's
so
right.
people, they're also getting what they need from me, even if it's not what they want.
Mm.
And this takes, again, courage and confidence to learn to trust these inner resources. And again, the way that happens is one little step at a time. And when you see how this works and it really is clear, it's like that, I waited and it really worked for me.
Yeah.
And that builds confidence over time.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, thank you, Richard. That's beautiful. And so I'm going to move and talk a little bit about mine as well, and how I am built in the complete opposite way. So I love the polarity of our charts and how people are now able to see that. I have in the moment awareness. I have this splenic awareness that knows exactly what is right and what is not right in the moment. And when I say right, I don't mean right. I guess I necessarily mean, where my body needs to send me, and how to stay healthy or in that environment. And the energetic priority in my energetic centers, I have these two. I have this ego motor that is connected to the splenic awareness that then moves up and through my throat. But what I have noticed in my energetic priority experience and experiment is that a couple of things. One, even though my in the moment awareness is my authority, my ego motor talks things out, and it hears and takes this snapshot of this moment and then this moment and then this moment after I speak through whatever it is that is happening. This externalization of this ego motor. What is my motor ready to do? And it's like my motor speaks and then my spleen hears and jumps or doesn't jump. And then in the environment as well, I can get this intuition, but my motor doesn't always turn on. So there is a knowing in the moment, but it's not always a movement in the moment. until the motor is on. And when I say the motor is on, it's not something I ever do, but it's always a act of chemistry and frequency that all comes together, that's mixed with, tribe and need and desire, and then the motor turns on with exchange. And now there's movement, but understanding the difference between movement and awareness are two totally different things in my system and in my experiment.
Yeah,
And
it's
then,
almost like, yeah, go ahead.
oh, go ahead. No, go ahead. I'd love to hear, because I was going to then
Well,
go
it's
to the open centers, but I'd love to hear what you have to say first.
Well, it's sort of a similar process, although it's completely opposite. In other words, your motor is living within the ocean of your splenic awareness center, just as my sacral motor is living within the ocean of my emotional chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
But how they actually mechanically function is totally different, because mine's taking time and yours staying present in the moment.
That's right. That's
How would you
right.
describe that sensation of your splenic awareness? Do you feel it in your skin or hairs on your neck, or is there something you can say about what that feels?
Yeah. This is a super vulnerable question because, well, as you know me very personally, this brings up the fact that in order to feel it in my body, I had to do some trauma deconditioning, and I had to do some nervous system re-regulation, because what most of the human design community talked about as far as splenic awareness, the hairs on the back of your neck, or the tightening of the skin, or that drop of the stomach, those feelings, those happened to me because of nervous system dysregulation. A dog could bark outside and that would happen. I could hear a sound that I couldn't identify and that would happen. And so I couldn't trust that mechanism in my body to be true for a while. And so what I was able to, the gift that gave me, while deconditioning this trauma response that I had to being safe, because that's what this system is for, but it was a bit dysregulated. And I had an autoimmune disorder called lupus that also showed itself in this dysregulation of this splenic immune system. And keeping me safe and listening to it. So there's been a journey to hearing it, but the gift that I have received is it is an absolute knowing, just like you said with your clarity. It is resoluteness. That is just the perfect word, because it is a silent, resolute knowing in the background that doesn't change. For me, I got to know that sensation rather than the physical sensation, because again, I couldn't count on the physical sensation. So I got to know that it almost feels like a friend or something that comes in from behind and like whispers just this little thing in my ear, and just then stands there to see what I do about it or not. So it's just a knowing. And now I have been able to distinguish the difference. Again, thank you for setting this up in those open motors, because if you see, I have all of those open centers that then also can be real confusing about what is this inside of me that I feel.
Yeah.
And that nervousness where your stomach jumps, this is sacral energy. This isn't me, so there was a lot of nuancing and categorizing and organizing and pulling apart that I had to do, that I got to do in order to really hear the truth of my body.
Yeah, yeah, I really appreciate all your sharing there, and that's the thing about the spleen. I mean, because the spleen is so much about our survival at the base level. That's its job. It's here to keep us alive. If we've ever had a near-death experience and survived, typically what happens is, something happens like a near-death car accident. We swerve and react, and we're safe now, and our mind is trying to think what happened. Like it wasn't even able to compute what happened, but the spleen already knew. It happened so fast. It's on the cusp of the now. So in those types of scenarios, we see the spleen in action at its pure raw form of survival. But as you're sharing, in your case, since it is your inner authority, it's always there, but it can be that quiet voice, just like you said, that quiet whisper in the ear. You have that gate 57, which is penetrating intuition in the now. And so I love how you're sharing that it took time to be able to tune into the spleen on a moment to moment basis. It is a process to be able to do that.
Yeah. And I don't recommend this for anybody, but this is one of my most favorite things to do. And I didn't realize why until human design. I love to drive fast. I love to drive fast. And I used to in my reckless days, in my third line days, I used to drive fast in traffic just to see like a little Mandalorian in Star Wars, just to see how quickly and fast I could get through everything. And what I realized is in those moments, that is a pure connection to my splenic ego awareness. It is in this moment right now, move, 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 move. And it's so much fun and it's so raw and it's so pure. And so that's a little story that I like to tell about those centers.
Tapping into your splenic awareness through driving fast and
Yeah.
reckless. Well, we don't always recommend that, but I
No,
love the story.
I don't recommend that, but I do. I drive a lot slower now, and I still can tap into that, move, hurling my body through time and space and just feeling like with my tentacles, what's safe and what's not safe in each and every moment. Like this is a really fun kind of thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this has been beautiful. So yeah, energetic priority, listening to these centers, hearing, human design talks a lot about moving the energy from our minds into our body. But then when we get in our body, there's a lot to listen to. And so I think here at the opportunity is for you to take some time to really journal or observe and take a look at the way that your centers operate. And what is it that your mind is grabbing onto in this energetic priority, and see if that's really what it is. And then let your mind reorganize. Like you heard Richard say, once Richard sat through that waiting, oh, that was hard. He felt like a chained dog or something, he was just ready to go, but he had to wait. And once he waited for a few times, it became less hard to wait. And his mind then got on board and reorganized itself to be able to support his true inner authority, because really that's what our minds want to do, is they just want to keep us safe and alive. And so the programs that we run keep us safe and alive. But when we give them a new program, like follow up your inner authority, just give it a new program, and I promise it will follow that new program that is the highest and best use of your biology in this life.
Yeah, deconstructing adaptive strategies that we have developed, again, often out of our ajna center, trying to keep us alive up here.
That's right.
But there's a better resource inside, and you're very well described that shift. It's a shift in consciousness, basically, but it's definitely derived from the effort of shifting awareness.
That's right. That's right. And that shifting awareness, Richard, and I can't say it enough. And pardon me for anybody who keeps hearing me repeat this, but it will get in layer by layer by layer, is that it is this consciousness, this shift in consciousness is moving from having your mind have the use of all of your body's energy. So all of this energy that inhabits your biology being here in your mind, used to create strategies and coping skills to win in this life, or to, get love and liked and appreciated and all of these things, and taking that energy, all of that energy, and putting it into your body. This is what our ancients have been talking about with meditation, but this is just a more cerebral way of doing it. This is an active role of bringing it into your body and saying, okay, what are you saying to me? Creating a relationship with this body.
Yeah, you're really describing strategy, which is one word, but it's a big word in human design.
It is.
Strategy is a military term that actually, the definition is a plan for success. And that's what our strategy, based on our type and authority, is all about. Strategy gives us access to our main sensory connection to totality, essentially. I mean, that's why we have that's why these energetic priorities are so important. And we have a way to move through those, as we were just describing.
And as you were saying, if I said it in another way, is that your biology is designed to interact with the energy of that's around you at all times. And your biology is interacting with what's around you at all times in the priority of the energies of your centers. So the first thing to listen to is my spleen when it's interacting with the world around me. And then the second thing to hear is, oh, do I have energy for this in my motor? And so eventually this isn't something that we have to even think about. This is just who we be, right? We're just moving out of the way everything that we've put, all the strategies that we've put in place to not be that. And so it becomes, there's nothing easier than being yourself. So that strategy gets us in line with that selfness, and that connection, that sensory tuning to the outside world. Yeah. And so your strategy of waiting, you talked about my strategy of informing, allows what I've tuned to the outside world to get ready for it. And that strategy then allows less resistance so that my brain can see that there's a purpose in the field.
And so much of the strategy too is time, right? Aligning with synchronicity. And this is what strategy allows our bodies and vehicles to do. Because in a sense, we're all waiting, right? When you think of all the 4 different types of strategies, even though the manifestor, like yourself, you're the designed one that can, on your own, when you're ready to move, here it goes. You're still waiting for that creative spark, right?
Right. It's not on my own. My marching orders come from within this body, not Brandy. Yeah.
But it's helped me again find that patience, the waiting, to realize that I'm waiting for better timing, right? I mean, that synchronistic feeling, we have all had at points where we feel like everything was being divinely orchestrated. I'm in the right place with the right people at the right time, saying and doing the right things. Strategy gives us a path to that.
That's right. And it's so easy for our mind to get hijacked and caught up in, oh, I must have missed it. Let me figure out how to do it again.
Anything that's taking us out of that present awareness, right? Whenever we're longing for the past or yearning for the future, we're getting out of where we need to be.
That's right. You think it's time to go to charts?
Let's look at some charts.
Okay, let's do it. What do you see here in Stephanie's beautiful 3-5 manifesting generator, cross of the sleeping phoenix? Look at all the shoulders.
I see a go-getter here, right? I mean, two extremely powerful motors connected to the throat expression center, the solar plexus on the right through the channel of openness, a design of a social being, pure manifesting channel. Then we have the sacral life force energy motor connected to the throat expression center through the channel of charisma, a design where thoughts must become deeds. Very powerful, energetic resources to be applied into the external world. And so as an MG with this much motor to the throat access, just a tremendous tendency, right, to just go, just be doing, manifesting, and it's here. I mean, this is part of the gifts and talents of this chart. I mean, this is someone that can really move energy in the external world. The question is when and with who. And this is the power of strategy. That solar plexus has that ability, as we've described, to bring some sort of clarity on how to allow all of this tremendous energy to be expressed, when and where and with who.
And I know Stephanie personally, and she is, the thing that keeps coming into my mind is to dance with this woman on a dance floor is something to behold. She is a beautiful artist and a beautiful woman. And I know some of the struggles or some of the energetic priority things that have come up for her is her intuitive knowing and this energy, all this energy that she has. She's, like I said, a beautiful artist and a green thumb. She takes care of properties and cultivates beautiful produce and flowers and all of these beautiful things. And so her emotional creativity and her power and energy to do kind of misbalance each other sometimes. This energy that comes in her body and this melancholy about how to express it creatively. Do you have
Yeah.
anything?
Yeah, well, and you're referring to her solar plexus. Now, the solar plexus is defined through an unconscious channel of openness. And that's always a helpful thing to support folks in that situation. What it's indicating is that maybe just home alone, intellectually, she may not necessarily be aware of where this wave is. Could be, but not always, maybe. But what this unconscious channel is saying through the solar plexus is that through interaction, she'll see this unconscious mood come out, right? Anything.
And she does.
Yeah, it's like, it's just, so that's helpful, that it's not about overthinking it. It's just about watching and observing what is my mood as I'm interacting with people throughout the day, or anything really.
And she does. She comes on Facebook and when she's wandering through the forest and talks about her mood and the trees and if she's lost or not lost.
Yeah.
Or,
And,
yeah.
And again, this wave, because it is very individual circuitry, not only the gate 55, which is her design sun, but the channel of openness, as well as the 3420 personality center. All of this is an individual circuitry, which can bring this real on off. It's tied to this pulse, right? It can be off and feel a bit melancholic. It's kind of like, I knew, where did it go? Where did my knowing go? I don't, where's my spirit? I don't feel it.
Yeah.
But this is why that waiting strategy, it will come back. We're simply, and that's so helpful brings us back to the idea of presence, being present and just feeling these melancholic down moods are super powerful. They're super creative and they're percolating mutation. That's literally what's happening. And the way we can really garner the most value of that is to be with it, right? Not try to avoid it or be so busy that we're not being present and really, what does this down melancholic mood have to share with me? So any creative outlets, writing, drawing, painting, playing music, walking in nature, right? This allows this person to really feel what's happening in this percolating process as it's getting ready to come out again. When that pulse turns on, is that knowing is there, right?
Yeah. And so we can see the dichotomy between all this energy in her body to be and behave and have activity and this melancholy sitting and expression. She is, like I said, a brilliant artist. I feel like that word doesn't even give it justice. She is a creator with anything she puts her hands on, and that busyness. So the energetic priority here for Stephanie is to continue to sit in that melancholy, to be in that space and to see what it says and to wait for that synchronistic timing to be able to use all of that powerful energy that she has and bring that to the table. But that in that melancholy and allowing, and she does such a beautiful job of sharing this with the world and letting us see when she gets into those, the expression and processing of that melancholy is beautiful.
Yeah, you're saying how creative she is. And there we have the personality Saturn in gate 1, line 4, right? When it's on, she's externalizing the most creative, self-empowering archetypal gate in the chart.
Yeah. Well, Stephanie is going to be at the High Desert Human Design Conference, hopefully in September. So if anybody wants to meet her, and we will see her there. So thanks, Stephanie, for making an appearance.
Thank you, Stephanie. That was fun.
Thank you. So next we will go to Una. This is a beautiful 3/6 manifestor, splenic ego manifestor, single definition on the cross of penetration. And so this energetic priority Well, I'll let you talk about this chart and then I'll color around the lines with
Yeah,
my.
well, it's got a lot of similarities with your chart, right?
Yeah.
Because we have the same, not the channel of the surrender
Mhm.
design of a transmitter. You know, you have the 4426. So here, it's coming through a different pathway, but is similar in the fact that the ego being the motor and the splenic awareness center here being the inner authority.
Mhm.
So just this
Yeah.
moment to moment awareness. Now, and again, when we go into the channels and we're looking at the channel of initiation, from the ego to the G center, this idea of needing to be first to not only herself be self-initiated, but initiate others into something new, tied into
Mhm.
the perfected form, this intuitive behavior in the now. So this again is individual circuitry. So this moodiness quality, even though we don't have the solar plexus defined, there's still
Right.
this individual chemistry of this pulse,
Mhm. Yes, there is.
finding its expression to the throat through the channel of the alpha, a design of leadership for good or bad.
Mhm. Mhm. Yes, and Una is a shaman. She takes people into the depths of their self and brings them
Well,
out the other side.
that would certainly fit this chart right here.
Yes, she does.
The channel of initiation and the channel of the alpha in her
Yeah,
perfected form of being
yeah.
present for others. Yeah, that's beautiful.
She's a beautiful community leader, like I said, and shaman. She definitely takes her community to places they've never been before with this 3-6. Um, and so what I could say about her chart, knowing her, is, and again, in this energetic priority, is that, and we have worked together before, her intuition in this chart, you can see how powerful it is and that it is one of her only channels. It's the perfected form of self. This is about behavior of self, and it's in the first line. So it's really about what is the proper behavior of self, and her intuitive knowings in what that is astoundingly beautiful. And the way that it empowers everyone else around her to also be themselves. This is that 20 25 51, and the way she says things that just shock you into yourself. What I can see here, if we're going back to energetic priority, is for her um, to remember that all of that she speaks all the time is not always, that's not her authority. Her intuition is the authority. So everything, all of that's coming through her is to be used, to be heard, to be empowered for herself and for others, but not necessarily her authority. And so that's where I see that this alpha-ness, right? The voice of this alpha that's leading us into places and spaces. It's the first line alpha as well. So what is leadership and what does it mean to be a leader? And how do I do that? Will all be fed by her intuitive clarity and awareness in the moment, only in the moment.
Yeah, yeah, beautiful.
Yeah. Um, let's see.
It's always interesting when we see the
In a moment.
part of the incarnation cross in an undefined center. Here we have the 5354 in the root center.
That's right.
What might you say about that?
Oh, what I would say about that is that she is designed by the creator as a special agent to be used only at certain, very certain places and spaces and times in which this center gets activated and this sun starts shining from her. I could say that she is here to impact very specific people that connect, or people and times that connect and light up this certain part of her chart.
And when that's
Oh,
on, that's
mhm.
it's almost like that 53 is working in conjunction with the initiation, because 53 is the gate
Oh,
of
yes.
beginning, right? It's the
Mhm.
pressure to start a new cyclical process. It's tied to the solar plexus, even though she has an undefined solar plexus. 53 is in the sensing circuitry of the solar plexus. So her initiation is generally going to start something new for herself or someone else.
And to ground it, that initiation, that starting is the thing, is something that is going to fulfill the pressure to achieve in the 54. And so that 53 and 54, I mean, that story together is beautiful. That and I have experienced this with her and her communities, is where she leads them does start processes of success and achievement in the material plane. It does.
Well, with that line 3 in the profile, I'm always thinking about evolution and progress, right? That's what our line 3s assist humanity with. They take us where no one may have gone before. And it's a beautiful line. They're all beautiful, but I just, I have a lot of empathy for line 3s, because it's you got to be brave to go where no man's gone before sometimes.
Yeah. And I like to empower line 3s when I say that you are the evolving what we know to be true. You are the edge pushers of evolution. And so to get proud and to kind of stand up in your costume and say, yes, I am the edge pusher. I'm pushing the edges for all of us. And not that you're making mistakes. It's that you are experimenting with every single way to do something until there is a new horizon for us all. And I think that's pretty valuable and a really cool costume to wear.
That's beautiful.
Thank you, Una, for being here. Thank you.
Thank you, Una.
You. And now we are going to go to Summer. Summer. These just happen to be 3 women in my community that I know very well, or in our global community, that I know very well. Summer is a 4/6. She is a manifesting generator on the cross of service. Again, another splenic chart with a completely open emotional center. I'll wait to tell you about what Summer does until after you share what you see here in the chart.
Okay, well, here we have an interesting configuration with the sacral motor being connected to the spleen. Now, both of these centers, now the sacral being life force energy motor, it is, again, in the moment. That mechanism of response is moment to moment, and so is the splenic awareness center. So we have this double emphasis on being present moment to moment. Is there a rising up of energy? Is the splenic awareness giving a yes to that as well? It's support that spleen, that intuition, that instinctual awareness is supporting that sacral response as well. Now we have some integration channels here. So again, we have the channel of charisma, a design where thoughts must become deeds, 3420. We have the 5720, the channel of the brainwave. And this is that penetrating awareness in the now. So through response, waiting to individuate. The 34 is the gate of power, but it's the power to individuate with penetrating awareness in the now. So out of response, this is the natural expression. Also, we see the channel of the wavelength, delivering solutions with depth in a skillful and talented way. What sets all this success up is the strategy, right? Because we have a manifesting generator, and again, I'm speaking from my own experience, there's a strong tendency to jump it really quickly. And so this is part of the experiment, but by following strategy and experimenting with that, what that true sacral energetic rise of energy feels like, what is setting up the correct timing at the right place and the right time with the right people to be such a strong individual to deliver such skillful solutions to be shared with all of us. Now, we also see the channel of the prodigal, design of a witness, 1333. So I would imagine lots of people are always sharing things with Summer, right? She knows all the secrets of what happened back there and those experiences, right? There's a lot of depth possible in this channel. That's right. And it also brings in the idea of retreat, of having her space, not always speaking. And so this is in every chart, there's always what we might call a dilemma, in the sense that if we're out of whack or out of alignment, there's a dilemma. When we're in alignment, there are no dilemmas in the chart, right? Every chart functions as it is designed to function when we kind of stay out of the way, as we were talking about.
That's right.
But in terms of the dynamics here, this channel of the prodigal is tied to that solar plexus circuitry, right? So there's this waiting on what to share and when to share it.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it all gets solved by the strategy and the sacral response or not.
Right, right. So by waiting to hone her vortex, the and the in her case, it might be more of a body movement than a vocal movement. But in waiting for that movement and that splenic awareness in the moment, what I hear you say is her depth and her ability to bring talent in the now, to have the depth of presence here in this moment, to hear and to be present to not only the stories of the past, but also the feelings about those stories, and what maybe is healthy and unhealthy in those stories, and what the imaginations and confusion about those stories may be. And the reason I'm saying that is Summer is a death doula. And so Summer, among other things, she is a shamanic practitioner, but she's also a death doula. So she sits with people at the end of life to get as deep as they need to go in this present moment, to hear the stories that need to be said in this present moment, to feel the feelings that need to be felt in this present moment before passing to the next. And she's brilliant at that. Her talent and her skill and her intuition, and this energetic priority here for Summer. This power that's in her design, and this soft intuitive knowing. The intuitive knowing is so soft and so gentle. I mean, it may be logical and it may be the thing that keeps us alive, but it's so soft. So this power, I know Summer, and the sacral power to be now is tempered by the softness of the what is now, when is now. When is now, because it's not always on.
Yeah. A lot of logical circuitry and logical gates in this chart.
Very much so. And we can see that in her, but it's still very intuitive. It's very intuitive. I love how the yin and the yang come together in the splenic system with intuition and logic. So yeah, Summer, let's see. I think that's all that's coming through with Summer, and I want to honor our time as well. Anything more you want to add about Summer before we can close it up?
Yeah, it feels good there, I think.
Okay. Thank you, Summer. Thank you
Thank you
for
very much,
allowing us
Summer.
to look into your chart and to see how all three of you really, how and everyone and anyone who's watching this, you are never not who you are. And human design is not prescriptive. It's not putting you in a box to say, oh, be this. It is just this almost validation tool that says, okay, wait, I am being who I be, and I do get to put down these other things that I'm carrying that may not be who I am, because there's something that's outside of me that says, that validates me. And maybe someday we won't need that, but today it feels good to have that.
Absolutely.
And so thank you, everybody, for being here and for letting us see how you are being the truest expression of yourself in all the ways you can be. So thanks, guys.
Thank you all so much.
I'm going to stop sharing so we can just say goodbye.